Though guns have a storied history in the Xeno series, starting with Billy and Xenogears, continuing to Junior and Xenosaga, all the way to Elma and Minoth, and they have always been one of the most fun weapons to use and one of the sickest weapons as well, if you ask me. And in this game, I'd say that is no exception. The Full Metal Jaguar class can be obtained fairly early, and when you get it, it's likely to be the strongest damage class you have access to, with very powerful damage in the early and mid-game. I think it falls off as you get to post-game optimization, but it's still a solid damage class nonetheless, with many positive qualities. This guide should be able to help with all parts of the game, and in this video we'll be discussing FMJ, talking about its strengths and weaknesses, and how to use it most effectively. As always, if you enjoy these class guides and my other Xenoblade 3 content, make sure to subscribe to the channel because I plan to make much more. Let's get into it. So I will be using Full Metal Jaguar on Uni. This is technically not optimal at all since she has the lowest base attack stat and only the 4th highest dexterity value, but the base stat differences aren't super impactful thankfully, and come on, she's the S rank for it, you can't just not let her shoot some things up. If you want to be as optimal as possible for every stat, Noah has the best mix of strength and dexterity, which is important for the class, followed by Tyon. Senna and Lance have high attack power but low dexterity. Anyway, Uni is based, so I will be stubborn and unoptimal. I want to talk about the skills for this class first because it can be influential to how you choose your arts for the class, and are worth discussing. Sixth Sense will boost accuracy by 100% when you attack an enemy while it is performing an art. Seems like a bit of a strange skill at first glance, but it does basically guarantee that while an enemy is in a long art animation, you'll always be able to hit that enemy. There are some positive benefits to this for this class in particular, and having accuracy in as many situations as possible can also be nice to make sure you're always landing your attacks. Positioning Pro lets you have one more positional art equipped than the standard 2. Now I believe there are only 3 Agnes Master Arts that offer positionals, and all are physical based, and 2 are from the side, which doesn't synergize too well with the 2 arts that come with positionals for FMJ, since those are from the front and back. As such, this feels like a bit of a strange option for this class because it doesn't really see the most benefit from the skill, and many times you may find you don't really need 3 positionals on the kit. The big benefit of 3 positionals, however, is faster talent gauge charging so you can use your talent art a lot more, which can definitely be beneficial depending on the talent art you choose to run. Shock Shot will boost damage to enemies performing arts by 100%. Another skill that gives a big bonus when attacking an enemy using an art, and a nice attack boost at that. Now enemies aren't always in arts or anything, so you do have to be paying attention to take the most advantage of these skills, but it can be a nice boost of damage in the right circumstances without much investment. The main and defining skill for Full Metal Jaguar is Bullet Symphony. Every time you land an attack, your damage is boosted by 20%, and this caps out at 255%. As far as I'm aware, this is per attack and not individual hits, but I'm not entirely certain. It just often feels like that to me because the damage boost doesn't stack completely rapidly. This can max out at an extremely high 255% as said, which is the 2nd highest damage boost in the game. However, missing just once will cancel the boost and reset it. This is a very risk-reward skill that works a lot better against enemies without high evasion, and just in general if you want to pick your moments to attack when you have better accuracy. Now, unfortunately, even if you play perfectly, the game can easily troll you, but this is still a very nice damage multiplier when stacked up, and the good news is that you can't miss attacks in chain attacks, which is where FMJ can really shine and deal a lot of damage. The game will reward you for attacking an enemy when they are using an art, with more damage and better accuracy as well, so it is important to pay attention to that. Overall, a pretty solid set of skills to have. The master skills I am running are Ethereal Ability just for a free 30% damage boost to almost everything you want to do. The class is entirely ether based, so this gives you a big boost to all of your ether damage. You might run some physical master arts though. Critical Strike increases critical hit damage bonus by 50 percentage points. Now, one of the major weaknesses of the class is the low critical hit rate maxing out at 10%. You may notice I currently have a 26% critical hit rate, and that is thanks to a particular item since I believe this class was balanced a bit around the lower critical rate, and as such gets a lot of benefit from the skill when combined with the higher crit rate that I have to do a lot more damage. Universal Annihilation is the last skill I have. This boosts damage to toppled and launched enemies by 150%. I like this skill a lot because you cannot miss attacks against toppled and launched enemies at all, so you can stack up your passive and also get a free damage boost in the process. Works very well when you synergize with driver combo locking, or just normal combo locking, I guess, in this game. Unfortunately, being an ether-based class, Uni cannot take advantage of the ultimate qigong skill. Thank you to all comments telling me I'm dumb and pronouncing it wrong. Ultimate qigong, that lowers physical defense by 50 percentage points, and grants a massive advantage to physical-based damage classes, and that's also one of the major reasons the DPS of the class falls off a bit compared to other classes as you get further into the game and into post-game. Regardless, with this setup, you can still do plenty of good things with damage also. The arts for the kit are Quick Draw, which is a standard attack that has a standard power multiplier of 270%, and as your lowest cooldown art, along with the ability to boost damage when attacking from the front by 100%, so one of the positionals you have on the kit, and something worth running in a lot of situations. It also allows you to evade attacks during the entire animation, making it a very good art overall just for being able to evade enemies if you somehow do get aggro, which is something I like a lot. And all around it is a great art to have thanks to the low cooldown and the fact that it'll charge your talent art really fast, so it is worth using in most situations. Dead Set is a buff that will fully remove your own aggro and grant accuracy up on a 29-second cooldown. I actually like this art a lot, but it can be difficult to fit into your kit in a lot of situations. Being able to fully remove your own aggro lets you kind of go ham with all of your arts, just unloading on enemies, and being able to just kind of have a freebie to get out of that afterwards, so you never really have to worry about aggro with the kit if you really don't want to. This art will eat into the damage you can deal outside of chain attacks, though, since you're replacing one of your pretty strong art options, and you might also have to run less positionals as well if you want to run this art, so it can be a little risky, and the long cooldown it can be a little annoying at times. Accuracy up is still a very good buff to have, especially on this kit, to ensure you're hitting more attacks more often, and auto attacks do count towards stacking up your passive, so that is something that can be useful to keep in mind. Fatal Barrage is one of the better arts on this kit, in my opinion. It has a pretty nice power multiplier of 340%, and boosts damage by a total of 150% when you attack from behind, and it's on a fairly decent cooldown of 19 seconds. In many situations, this can be one of your strongest arts just because of the massive damage boost. It may not be the strongest art depending on what kind of enemy you're fighting, and if you can get the damage boost or not, and this makes it a good option in pretty much every situation. You can always do a lot with this art. It works in chain attacks because positionals always work in chain attacks, so that can be very, very beneficial to have as well. Superstorm is an art that will boost your accuracy by 50% while you are attacking with the art. It's on a pretty low cooldown of 14 seconds and also can inflict evasion down as a debuff on the enemy. Now, you are probably never going to actually apply this debuff, but it is something that can happen, and can be very beneficial if it does happen. The art itself is almost always guaranteed to hit because of the accuracy boost as well, making it a pretty good option if you just want to guarantee stacks on your passive. So in that sense, it is a good art to run, and it also has a pretty low cooldown of 14 seconds, and the power multiplier is not bad since it's equal to Fatal Barrage just without the bonus damage from behind. Demolition is another really good art on this kit. Even though it's on a bit of a higher cooldown, it has the highest power multiplier of 440%, and it also has a 50% chance to entirely ignore defense value on enemies. This is very beneficial for a lot of reasons, just because being able to cut through defense is something that is super beneficial to a lot of characters, and works particularly well with the master art I have it fused with, which is Mighty Beat. Mighty Beat is a smash art, and smash is very, very strong in this game, and is based on the total damage of the art you have used, even if it is a fusion art. So in that sense, Demolition is a great art for its high damage ratio, basically always working at all times, and if you cut through defense values, you can get very consistent damage with it, since you will always be doing the same damage to no matter what enemy you are fighting, assuming you get that 50% coin flip. It's also very beneficial when combined with a certain accessory that I have on my kit that I will show off a bit later. Aerial Slash is another art I like to run despite it being physical based, because it gives you another guaranteed way to evade attacks, which is something that can be super beneficial to the kit, because you already have it on Quick Draw. So if you use this art, you can have evasion on 2 of your fusion arts, and the damage of the art is not too bad either, having a pretty decent power multiplier of 400%. So despite being physical based, you can get a lot of use out of this, and you'll get a lot of damage from it as well. I'm running Flame Lord in the last slot to pair with Quick Draw because they both get a damage boost from the front, which can charge your talent art even faster. So despite the fact that there's a physical attack, this can synergize pretty well with the kit, especially with the low recharge gauge of 4. I feel like if you're going to run any of the 3 positionals, this is probably going to be the best option. You can get a break and a topple as a side positional as well, but that doesn't synergize super well in my opinion, so that can be a little wonky. But it is something you can do if you'd rather do that. You can also run Jackal Claw, which is basically almost the exact same art as Aerial Slash with basically the exact same effect, and even the same power multiplier. And if you do that, you can have evasion on all 3 of your fusion arts, which is really funny because Violent Streak also gives you guaranteed evasion. This class, actually, with the right setup, the low cooldowns, and if you run a certain setup where you can make sure you're getting faster art recharge, you can have extremely high uptime on evasion with this class, ironically making it one of the better tank classes, pseudo-tanks at least, just because you can manually evade so many attacks from enemies. It's a little bit cheesy, but with proper timing, it definitely can work. If there's any other master art you might want to consider, I think Overfall is a pretty good option because it has a chance of lowering ether defense, it's also a nice ether attack, and it's also on a very low cooldown. Now, I don't like running it that often just because you're not going to have the debuff actually work that much, especially if you're not running the debuff resist down skill. And even then, if you did, it probably still wouldn't work that often against the highest level unique monsters because this game is very mean to debuffs. So in that sense, I don't like it very much. Violent Streak is a very good talent art in general. It has a recharge gauge of 4, along with dealing defense bypassing damage always, and also allowing you to always evade attacks, as I already said earlier. The power multiplier is 700%, so there's definitely higher damage talent arts you could run than this, but I do like the fact that it always bypasses defense. That's very useful against super bosses with pretty high defense, and synergizes well with a certain accessory I have later. For gem setup, I am running Disperse Bloodlust just for a bit of safety to reduce the aggro I generate when I use arts, just because I don't want to have aggro. Even though I have some evasion on a lot of my strong arts, I don't want to have to rely on that super often, and I don't have all the items for the best possible cooldowns at the current moment in time as well. So that is something that can be useful. You do not have to run this at all if you are running Dead Set, the buff that removes all aggro you have. You can run an attack boost instead, which can be nice. Empowered Combo is here because I want to be able to boost my damage when I cancel, because that gives you a very large damage boost in a lot of situations, and can allow you to hurt enemies a lot more outside of chain attacks. Analyze Weakness will increase critical hit damage bonus by 70 percentage points. With my higher critical hit rate than normal, this can be super beneficial to give you a lot of strong damage with the class, and is something that can work very well because it's an independent multiplier to all other damage raises, so that is something I like about this a lot. There honestly aren't really any other options for gems that you could run that would be really beneficial to the class, so I think this is probably going to be your best bet in most situations. Now for my accessories, I am running the Thermo Headgear. I mentioned this earlier. This increases my critical hit rate by a flat 16 percentage points. I am aware there is a legendary version of this accessory that increases critical hit rate by 17 percentage points, but I have been very lazy and not had time to find that, so I'm going to be running the slightly inferior version instead. Regardless though, giving this class a nice critical hit boost can be super nice for the class just because of the low base critical hit rate. So if you're able to increase that all the way to over 25%, that actually can help the class out tremendously in dealing a lot more damage. Saturni Rings boost attack stat by 40%. This is pretty standard to get as much attack as possible, just because that'll boost basically everything we do by 40% as well, giving us more damage and making us function better as an offensive class. In the last slot, I am running Warped Black Brooch, because this will ignore 30% of enemies' ether defense when landing a hit. Now, this works just like the ultimate qigong skill, except for ether in this case, so you'll be able to lower enemies' ether resistance by a flat 30 percentage points, which means if they are lower than 30 points already, they'll go into negative values, allowing you to do even more damage. This accessory is going to increase damage of the class by a lot. There aren't really any other better options for damage as far as accessories are concerned, simply because of the fact that any other damage boosts we could run are just going to be other additive sources of damage, and this class has plenty of other additive damage already, so you don't really need that at all. If there is something else you may want to consider if you're having a lot of trouble against higher agility enemies, you can run Dexterity boosts, or you could run something like a Platinum Brooch that'll increase your accuracy during the day by 60%. Those are always really strong options to consider, and something that can be very beneficial to this class in particular, so you are getting your damage boost without missing and losing it. And that is going to cover it for setup. So let's see how to use this class practically. So very briefly, I just want to look at damage outside of a chain attack, kind of, and how you can kind of get pretty high smash damage outside of that as well. So this enemy has very low evasion, so you can kind of stack up your passive a lot easier on this class, which is something I like a lot. And of course, when the enemy is launched or toppled, you are always able to get your accuracy no matter what, so that makes it a good time to attack the enemy. I'm just going to be taking advantage of this. The auto attacks are boosting up my damage. As you can see, every auto attack's hurting a bit more. Now that he's not launched anymore, my damage is a little bit less though. And once you miss an attack, it'll go all the way back down, which can be a little bit unfortunate. Sometimes the game can destroy you no matter what, like I just missed an attack there. So now I'm back down to 188 damage on my auto attacks. So that's one of the big negatives of this class. Just missing attacks can be really annoying sometimes, and that is going to not help in many situations. But if you can get some nice damage, like on a topple right there, like I just did, it can be super beneficial. And a smash right there that just did a decent amount. Not too much because it was in the later stages of the smash, but I can do a bit more damage here. Now, I've also taken aggro, so I'm going to be the target of a lot of his attacks in just a second. But I've got my evasion arts up, so I'm able to use that to evade the attacks myself until he gets into another combo here again. And then I use a pretty powerful smash there that does over nearly 3 million damage. Now, you can dodge Horn Dance, but it comes out so fast and my reaction time is so bad because I'm an RPG player that I was not able to successfully do it with Violent Streak like I wanted to. I use Quick Draw to evade that one attack. Unfortunately, I do not get my aerial slash up before he just kind of auto-attack wrecks me there, so I wasn't able to fully kill him before I ended up dying, so I guess I am bad at the game. But we were able to kill him really quickly as soon as I get back up again, so not too big of a deal at all. Mighty Beat Smash by itself does nothing. You really need that Demolition to do anything, as you probably just saw there. And let's kind of showcase what you might want to do against higher agility enemies, although I don't know if I executed it the best. Now, this thing at level 200 has really high evasion. It's very, very easy to miss attacks if he's not currently in the middle of using an art, or if he's not toppled or launched. And typically your strategy when you're using Full Metal Jaguar is just kind of stutter step around the enemy almost. I don't want to use that term because it was kind of a common term in Xenoblade 2, but I don't really know what else to say. And basically, you can kind of auto-attack, dash a little bit, walk a little bit after that, and then auto-attack again without basically losing any movement time. And that's kind of how you want to use your positionals if you could do that. Of course, when the enemy is launched, you might want to get the most advantage out of your positionals and just kind of dash to take advantage of that in a hurry like I just did there. And this thing has a lot of health, but with the right setup and being able to smash with Demolition and a chain attack, you can do a lot. The thing I really like about Demolition is the fact that it does pierce damage, so every time we get that 50% coin flip, you are always basically hitting the enemy really hard at negative 30 defense value, because you have the Warped Black Brooch or Warped White Brooch, whichever one it is for Ether, and that's going to increase your damage a lot against these types of enemies. Or against any enemy, really. If you win the Demolition coin flip, you will always be doing basically the full value of the damage, the same exact damage no matter what, because you'll always be hitting an enemy for 50 or negative 30% of their Ether value. Now, if you land Uni's bonus here, where you reduce enemy Ether defense by 50 percentage points, then you'll be hitting negative 80% on that, and you'll be doing even more damage. So that's one of the reasons it is pretty beneficial to get Uni's Chain Order early. Of course, when you're using Asher on the team, you kind of want to get hers as soon as possible, but I do not have that option, so I'm just going to start off with Uni. I think I get kind of bad Chain Orders here. I don't want to use Taion yet, because I don't want to instantly go to the Ouroboros form, and I don't have Noah to use. So I'm just going to use Senna instead to make all attacks unblockable, because block rate is still something we have to worry about right now. So I'm just going to hope that I win the Demolition coin flip, since I can't use Noah's order to reduce all defense to 0 to basically guarantee I get a really strong attack in. So at this point, I'm kind of contemplating what to do. I'm just going to attack with Senna. I don't want to smash just yet because we haven't really built up our damage ratio that much, and this thing has a lot of health at level 200. So I want to make sure I'm getting the most benefit out of my smashes. So I'm going to save the Demolition for a little bit later in the chain attack. I'm going to use Mio to give everyone power charge and an attack buff, and then I'm just going to use my other pretty strong attack there, back attack. You always get the benefit of the back attack and chain attack, so that makes that move a really strong attack and chain attacks. I don't know why I can't remember the art name right now. Fatal Barrage, that's it. Fatal Barrage is a great art for chain attacks because you basically always get the 150% damage bonus from it, and attacks never miss at chain attacks, so you're always constantly stacking your passive if it isn't fully stacked already, meaning as the chain attack goes on, you'll just deal more and more damage. After the Ashura round here, we'll be able to do a really strong smash in the next round, and then we can actually kind of set ourselves up afterwards to do even more. Actually, I think I'm probably smash right here with Uni. I think that's what I end up doing. So yeah, we get over 9 million damage with a smash right there, and we didn't even have a high damage ratio yet. We were only at 573%. So now that we're at 958%, you can imagine that smashes will do even more damage now. And Demolition, basically the super high damage of Demolition, the defense piercing effect, the fact that we're basically hitting this enemy at negative 80% ether value means that we hurt a lot. So I'm going to go ahead and use Senna here to break again. Ogre class, really great for breaking. And then we can kind of combo that. I have Topple on Taion, so we can do that. And then Noah is going to effectively launch for us. I have this set up here perfectly for that. And then we'll have one more round of the chain attack after this. That'll be the Ouroboros round, the Uni and Taion finisher, if we still needed to do even more damage after this. But we really don't. But we can get the cool, funny damage numbers anyway, so that is pretty nice at the very least. I think this class is probably the most fun Kevis class to me. I wish it wasn't a Kevis class so it could have some better cooldowns on its primary arts, but it's still really fun to use. It has a lot of good synergy with the Agnes arts it can set, and I think the infinite evasion that you can do with it, not necessarily infinite, but almost infinite evasion you can have with it, is actually a really funny setup. It's one of the only classes that can really kind of do solo challenges in this game because of that, and that smash just did a ton of damage. Easy damage cap on the smash itself, well over 2 million with the art total, just really, really strong damage overall. And we can easily get the kill here on the level 200 enemy, just with a chain attack. Taion does nearly 3 million with his little rock attack there, because we have all the buffs on our allies, and they get a big damage boost depending on buffs of 500%. So yeah, he's just kind of super dead at this point. Really, really good chain attack finisher. Really, really good fit characters to use. And honestly, that is one really big benefit of using Uni as a DPS class, and Tyon too if you want to. They have the strongest chain attack finisher or a Boris finisher, so having them in DPS classes means that we would get pretty strong round finishers as well. So that is something to consider depending on what you want to do. So that is one reason that Uni can be a functional and pretty powerful DPS character, even though she has the lowest attack stat. Or maybe I'm just coping. Anyway, Uni's based, Fullmetal Jaguar is based, and I don't really have anything else to say, so I hope you learned something from watching this video. And if you did and enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and comment down below. Tell me what guide you want to see next, because I don't really have a set order for this right now. So if there is one that is really highly requested, I would be happy to do that one next. And I have a couple other things planned. I'll probably have a video discussing heroes soon, maybe even doing a tier list on them specifically and all their unique abilities. And we'll kind of go from there. Thank you guys so much for watching. I do appreciate the support as always, and have a wonderful and blessed day.